Hey guys, so how are you doing? This is Zed from Zed Outdoors. I hope you're having an awesome day. So I am with Sandy of Jacklore Knives. Sandy, how are you doing?
Very well, Zed. Thanks. Good to have you here.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
It's very kind of you to invite me around. So I think there'll be very few of you who don't know who Sandy are, but just to, why wouldn't you know who Sandy is? Sandy, there's some people out there who might not know who you are. That's not good. That's not good.
I'm a country knife maker.
He's out in the sticks, so I'm like a city boy coming out to the country now. But Sandy's a very well respected member of the outdoors, bushcraft, stroke knife making community here in the United Kingdom. Very kind of well known on the YouTube scene, running 2 channels. One, the Wiltshire Man, which is more the bushcraft outdoors.
Yeah, it's my sort of general interest channel, really. Amateur radio. I'll give you a dose of amateur radio later if you're interested. My outdoors adventures, camping, bushcraft, fire making. Anything which takes my interest at the time. It's shortly quadcopters as well as a new thing which is on the horizon for me. I'm looking forward to flying quadcopters and getting aerial footage, which I'll be uploading to YouTube. So if you're interested in that, pop over to Wiltshire Man and have a look.
Yeah, I'll be definitely putting a link to all the stuff below. And then obviously there's a channel Jacklore Knives, which is the reason why I'm here, which is your knife making. You know?
Well, I wanted to keep the knife making separate from my other channel because it deserves a channel on its own right, really, and I didn't want my other channel to be just about knife making, you know, because people that watch that don't always want to see knife making. Yeah. So I thought I'd keep them separate.
Yeah. And so a quick backdrop. So obviously I've gotten into kind of the whole bushcraft outdoor space since at the beginning of 2014. And I went on a course, I think it was end of March, 7-day course. And I've got my first ever Mora, you know, which is like a classic one where a lot of people begin out with. And so using that, I started to become just very, very slowly but proficient in kind of, you know, how to use a knife and knife handling and sharpening. But very quickly, Sandy was one of the first guys I followed, and I made a commitment straight away to myself that at the end of the year, which was what we're approaching right now, to treat myself to a Jacklore knife. The reason why I didn't want it at the beginning, because I wouldn't have fully appreciated having a Jacklore knife, especially a handmade knife. So for me, it was a more I can batter that around, like, you know, left, right, and centre, and then come towards the end of the year, like treat myself and be a lot more appreciative of having a Jacklore knife. And fast forward. We spoke at the preppers meet, the first one, which was the 100 one, and I told Sandy, by then I think you close your books, that look, you know, I want a Jacklore knife. The moment you open your books, put my name down. So conversations pursued, and at the, I think it was the wilderness gathering, you very, very, very kindly offered to come round and said, because I've also shown a bit of an interest in knife making, not to become a full-blown knife maker, but just to more learn and appreciate the process involved, and then you very kindly invited me down.
Yeah, you can come along and see how I do my processes here, and I'll show you my machinery, my kilns, the way I do things, you know. And then if you want to take some of that information home and have a go at making your own knives in the future, then good luck to you.
I was going to set up Jacklore knives competition to. No, I'm joking. It's basically just to kind of learn and appreciate, and just obviously spend time with Sandy and just kind of really soak in. And in all seriousness, because I can be serious sometimes, right? It is an honour, and I really do appreciate the invite. You know,
it's great to have you here, Zed. You know, I've watched your channel grow as well, and you know, it's great to have you come along and make a knife with me. You know, I look forward to it. Yeah,
no, I'm really looking forward to it. So once again, Sandy's very kindly allowed me to document the whole kind of journey. This is a Friday morning. We're here for about 2.5 days, I think.
Well, if we'd have got cracking earlier, we could have probably done it in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Because the reason why it's going to be so long is because the heat treat process is going to take half a day, and then the epoxies that I use are slow setting epoxies.
Yeah.
So we got the glue on the fibre liners, and that's 8 hours, you know. Then you got to glue that onto the knife. It's another 8 hours.
Yeah.
So there are certain processes which you can't rush, and you're just dictated to by those things, really. You know.
Yeah. And what the way I'm thinking about doing this video is doing it in 3 separate components. So 3 parts, which is, you know, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This video is not really designed to be a tutorial. It's more to give you an overview, a video diary of all the processes involved, to a large degree, and kind of my time here. So hopefully it will give you an idea. I know there's a lot of people like me who are very new to the whole scene, to appreciate knives in general, how they're made, and also how the Jacklore, the process involved. Sandy's done a lot of videos over the recent months and time that he's been making the Jacklores, showing you insights into all the steps.
Yeah, some of those processes, mind it, have been a learning curve for me too.
Yeah.
And I've chopped and changed a few things as I've learned new information. I've dropped old processes to replace them with better processes. You know, so and also my skills have improved as I've built more knives. And so, I mean, the way I do things now is not as I used to do them maybe even 6 months ago. So it's a continual learning curve.
Yeah.
Even now, you're never too old. You're always learning.
No. Mind you, I'm getting old myself, so I'm joining the club soon.
Yeah.
But what we'll do, we'll begin day one, and that's it. We'll get cracking.
Just roughen them up a little bit. We give them a key. It helps them key to the.
So what we're doing here, so these are the fibre liners, yeah?
These are your fibre liners. I just score them with a 60 piece of 60 grit.
And with the fibre liners, are they? We were talking about them earlier. So are they for aesthetic reasons? Do they serve a purpose? Or?
Well, they serve two purposes. One is the aesthetic. They make the knife look good, so you can have those nice green liners against the darker wood. And secondly, they just help a bond. If you haven't got such a good, say if your wood is an oily wood like cocobolo or a material which doesn't bond so well to steel, then it'll bond to the fibre line as well, because this stuff bonds to anything basically. So it's a gasket, a go-between. Scales then, and I've got to flatten them out on the inside, but before I've even started to work on them, I've looked at them and assessed how I'm going to have them fit on the knife.
What wood is this? This
is Mexican ironwood.
Okay, and you were saying this doesn't need stabilising, does it?
No, it's incredibly dense, and it's been in my wood dryer for best part of a year now, and you can hear it's like iron. And if you wanted to stabilise it, you couldn't, because the fibres of the wood are so compact, they're so close together that the resin won't penetrate.
Well, very quickly with the stabilising. What is stabilising? When you talk about stabilising wood,
stabilising is a way that when the wood is dry, if you've got a porous wood like oak, for example, it can absorb moisture from the air, and that will cause it to expand. And then in a warm or dry climate, it could dry and then it could shrink. So by stabilising, basically what I do, I submerge the wood in question, once it's thoroughly dry, into resin, subject it to a vacuum, leave it under vacuum for half a day perhaps, and then remove the vacuum and leave it soaking in that resin for another day or two. And then that draws the resin into the fibres of the wood, right deep into the wood. And then it's a matter then of taking the wood out of the resin and then baking it in an oven, and then that sets the resin hard and it fills all the voids, and basically the wood can no longer absorb moisture from the air, and it can no longer in that case it can no longer expand or contract, and you've got a stable handle.
Excellent. And with this one, you were talking about the grains then, weren't you?
Right, yeah.
The grains.
Well, I've looked at the grain. You can't see it so well, but I polished up this side, and I've decided that the grain's going a certain way, and I'm already assessing how I want that to look on the knife. So I've already marked an arrow there and an arrow there to tell me that's going to be the front of the knife, or it could even be the back of the knife. But as long as those arrows are going the same way, I know then the pattern will pretty well match up. Just little things really that you're even doing even before you've even started to build the knife.
Gotcha. So you're assessing kind of like the look and feel and the way it's going to flow.
Yeah, and I mean I might have that at the back of the knife, and that could be the front of the knife, you know. But if it was that way round, the pattern wouldn't be symmetrical.
Yeah.
Right, this is, I use 99.9% pure acetone. I buy it in the 1 gallon containers, and basically it's a brilliant degreasant. You can see how it's removing that.
So would you do that at both sides, or just the sides that are going to stick?
Just the side that's going to stick, but then I do it till there's not a lot of colour coming off, because there's a lot of, you know, some of these woods can be sort of oily as well, you know, and you're never going to remove all the oil from the wood, but you want to remove it from the surface area where it's going to glue as much as you can. So obviously the integrity of the knife, the bond to the steel or to the fibre liners is important. You can see the amount of we're still getting stuff off of it now.
So you're doing the same for the liners as well then, Sandy?
Yeah, and both the contacting surfaces, they get degreased, and I'm careful to hold them on the edge and not touch them with my fingers.
With these ones you roughed up a bit, didn't you, with sandpaper?
Yeah, I keyed them up just to give them a bit more surface area. You don't want to key them with a very coarse grit, because otherwise that can leave scratches which are deep, you know, and then when you have the mating surfaces together you might have blemishes showing. So there they are, ready for the glue.
Okay, Sandy, so you've mixed the epoxy.
Yeah.
And you're saying to mix, you were mixing it for about 45 seconds, weren't you?
Yeah, you've really got to mix it well. If you don't mix it properly, it won't set. It won't set consistently, and it's really crucial to take your time and make sure you thoroughly give it a good thorough mixing.
And you're saying once it's mixed, it gives you a couple of hours of work time?
Well, it's repositionable for 2 hours, and then it takes probably reaches full strength in 12 to 18 hours. And it sets with a certain amount of give to it as well. It's not it's not really you know, brittle epoxy. I've used Devcon. I've got Devcon here, and I found that Devcon, it sets like glass. Devcon 2-ton epoxy, and it sets like glass. And when I've tested pieces and I've destroyed the bond to see how well it was, the Devcon just gave way very, very easily. Whereas this epoxy, it just seems to really sort of, it just has it's so much stronger, and so that's what I use. It's a little bit expensive. I'm not sure if it's available in commercial amounts.
And what do? You're trying to get like an even surface,
Yeah,
even spread.
Just an even spread. I mean, it will squash out if you got too much on there anyway.
So now you're applying to the liners.
Yeah, both mating surfaces get a thin layer of epoxy. You don't want to apply masses of it, just enough to give you a thin layer, just like that. And then mating surface is gone like that.
So it's glue to glue surface basically.
Glue to glue, and then I clamp it up over here. Down from dirty room knives, because a lot of my knowledge that I've gleaned it off the internet by watching other knife makers. And if you use greaseproof paper, then it doesn't stick. You know, it doesn't stick to the. If I glue that straight onto the aluminium surface, I'd never get these scales off.
Whereas the greaseproof paper,
just pops off straight away. It's nice.
So you're clamping literally the whole thing in order to.
Yeah.
And do you make sure it's really tight, or do you make sure there's a bit of give in there?
No, you don't want it absolutely really, really tight, because you'll squirt all the glue out. You want a little bit. You don't want it, you know, to be so tight that it squirts all the glue out. You want to keep a small, thin layer of glue there all the time.
So now we're getting on to, so while that's kind of setting, the liners and the scales.
Yeah, they're going to be there all day. This is the piece of steel we're going to use for Zed's knife.
So that's a finished knife, isn't it? That's it's looking fantastic. So
yeah,
far.
yeah, it's really sharp.
Yeah.
Right, it's 01 high carbon steel. The steel that I use comes from Germany.
Okay.
It's a very high grade steel.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the UK knife makers are using it now. And this is the pattern piece that I'm going to use. This is slightly bigger than the final knife would be, and we're going to do a bit more shaping afterwards. But anyway, it's a matter of just laying the pattern piece over the engineer blue, which I applied this morning, so it's nice and dry. Making sure.
What does that do? The actual engineer blue.
It just allows you to see where you've scribed.
Okay,
this is my scriber. So if you can see.
So I could put Z was here, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do scratch a bit harder and doesn't make an impression as well. So it doesn't matter then of. Bit of downward pressure. Make sure I don't move anything when I take my hand off. Come around this side. Ah, voila.
So we have the outline of the knife then.
Yep.
Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to cut this now, yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to cut this now. I'm riding the Iron Horse.
I know, I was about to say. All we need is a Cotton Eye Joe theme tune.
It's all held up securely so it can't tip. It's designed as a brace there. A lot of knife makers use this machine actually, or a generic machine similar to this. And it's just a matter now of well, can you hit the 10 times fast forward button please then? I've been rehearsing that one.
So there we go. So you've taken off what you can, haven't you, with the bandsaw?
Yeah. Take off as much as you can with the band. So obviously, cutting outside of the line. You don't want to cut inside the line. And then the rest now is the shaping on the grinder. A bit of a top down.
So Sandy's about to reenact the ice bucket challenge again.
No chance.
Okay, so what we're doing now, so this is where, what's the actual name for this machinery here?
This is my downland maxi grinder.
Okay.
Which for the style of knives that I do is absolutely ideal. I'm very pleased with this grinder. Perhaps if you're doing sort of big heavy machetes and lots of heavy grinding, maybe you want something a bit more robust. But for the knives that I do, it's absolutely fine. And I've put a serrated wheel on and a warm P36 belt. And I'm just going to just grind down now to the scribe line.
If you hear us talking in a muffled voice, it's because we've got the masks on.
So. I can also overlap. I can steer the belt by using a tracking adjustment here, so I can overlap the belt left or right. So if I want to grind an internal curve, I'll do that on say on this side for example, and I'll overlap the belt, and it'll allow me to get in there and grind that curve.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But it'll be a rough job still at this stage.
Not a mad scientist. So you're changing the grit now, Sam?
Yeah, now you've never got your worn out belt. There's no great necessity to keep the knife from getting hot at this stage, but I always do dunk it in steel to keep it cool when I'm drilling or when I'm grinding, because I find that by keeping things cool in the early shaping stages, you minimise the chance of a warp during the quench, the heat treating. Because when you heat up steel, you're putting hidden stresses into the steel. And it's those stresses which manifest themselves afterwards when you come to quench it, and you suddenly get a blade that warps. And I just found that by keeping things as cool as you can during the shaping and drilling processes, and that, it doesn't seem to warp so readily.
So you're going to just repeat the same process again, sanding around?
No, I'm not. No, I'm going to do something different now. I'm going to remove this table. We've now finished with that. If you look at the scratches on the knife, the scratches are going across that way. Now I'm going to tidy it all up and have scratches running that way.
Oh, okay. Is there a particular reason for that?
Because that's the way it's done.
Okay, fair enough.
No, it's just easier to get flowing lines, and easier to clean the knife up and polish the knife up, and that way in the future as well. You know, that's just how we finish it, really. And this is just a guide, which enables me to rest the workpiece against the flat vertical faces. It means I can present the knife to the belt at a 90-degree angle or thereabouts, you know. So it keeps the spine of the knife, the profile of the knife at 90 degrees.
Okay, so certainly, so you changed the wheel on here to this thinner one, and that was, you were saying, to get into the
to the different internal radii. You can't reach the tighter curves on the bit bigger diameter wheels, so I've got to change the wheels to get in there to allow me to tidy that up in there. I've also got a corresponding vertical guide as well for each wheel. It's a bit fiddly. I've got to set it up with different spanners But basically, it means I can more or less do it with my eyes closed. Just nip that up like that.
Okay, so you've gone from that and now you've gone to an even thinner wheel now.
Yeah, this is the smallest diameter I use.
So with this one, so this is it now. This has been ground down. So this is a preheat.
This is pre-heat treat profile. After heat treat, we'll then tidy it all up again. We go around all the whole profile again.
Okay.
I take my knife pre-heat treat to 120 grit finish all round. Maybe a higher finish on the flats. And then after heat treat, obviously we're going to go down to finer grits. So that's a 120 grit, and you can see the lines in there. Eventually what I'll do, I'll be going down to a much finer grits, with progression of grits, until that comes almost to a polish.
Okay, gotcha.
Dear Jacklore, let's do things correctly. Funky Pepper gave me that.
Oh bless.
I got about half of it left, Darren, so if you send me some more my way, I'll be very grateful.
So what are you doing? Just reapplying some of that now to...
Just to the handle area, so just let that dry off a little bit, and then I'll mark that up, and then we'll be able to drill the handle holes then.
Okay, so that's kind of semi-dried now. So what are you doing now?
I had a purpose-made pattern piece which I accidentally destroyed last night, and what I would normally do is just lay that over, and the holes are in such a diameter I can put my centre punch in, just bang bang bang. But I've had to go back to an old pattern piece and do it the old way, and basically I'm just putting my scriber down and scribing the holes, and then I'll eye up those scribe rings and then centre punch, and then I'll drill 3mm pilot holes through. These are the main handle fixing holes, that one and that one, and that's the lanyard tube. These are just basically sort of, I call them glue peg holes.
Okay.
Because in the past when I've tested the integrity of the handle, I've pulled them apart, and basically you end up with pegs of epoxy, and it's very very hard to pull apart, and they run through these holes here.
So each one of them serves a purpose then, basically.
Yeah.
The holes.
Obviously it reduces a little bit of weight as well, but it's more just to aid the bond. We do other things as well to the knife, which you'll see later on, to aid the bond. There we are.
So what's it you're doing now, Sandy?
This is centre punch, and what it does basically, it just gives a little dimple, and that dimple just helps the drill to engage and drill an accurate hole. It's a good punch that, because I don't need to bang it with a hammer. I can eyeball it very carefully, and then just press down, and the inertia and the spring in there just drives it in. And you've got a hardened steel tip there. There's there's two schools of thought on drilling holes. Some people don't drill a pilot hole, and some people do. Well, I started drilling pilot holes because I think it just keeps the workpiece that bit cooler. And secondly, a lot of people don't bother with any kind of cutting fluid. Now, again, I never used to, and a lot of people will say you don't need to do it. But where I buy my tools from is a chap called Beasley Tools, and he's a very knowledgeable engineer, and they used to supply tools to the railway works in Swindon. And they said whenever you're drilling steel, always drill a pilot hole first and always use some kind of fluid. So I've gone back to using fluid when I drill my holes, and again I think it just keeps things a bit cooler really.
Okay, Sandy, so what are you doing? Are you drilling the holes now?
Just to drill the holes out now. You decided you want mosaic, so I'm drilling these out to the correct diameter for the mosaic pins. These stay this diameter, and that one I'll enlarge, that one I'll enlarge, that one goes to 8mm for the lanyard tube.
So you go from one size to slightly bigger, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, bigger size now for the lanyard. The next thing to do now is to counterbore. So I'm going to change the drill.
And there you go, you've got the holes in there.
See now there's no burr there.
Okay, so what's this you got here then?
This is an inclinometer. It measures angles. And my friend John Wellings put me onto this, and it's a brilliant bit of tool, bit of kit rather. It means I can just put it on. I normally do it that way around for the light, but I can put it on there like that. And then I can zero it, so it's reading 0. So now it sees the tool rest as 0, and then I can put it on.
Oh, so you're calibrating it first at 0, and then
Yeah. Put it on an angle. Say I'll do a fairly steep angle at the moment, so I'm just knocking off the 45s.
Oh, that is really cool.
Knocking the edges off.
So you're not guessing it then, are you? You're basically getting it.
Yeah, although because my jig isn't a true 90, there's a way you can actually work out your final bevel angle when you built the knife. Now, one of the things that interests me, sad bugger that I am, is that I like mathematics, and I like trigonometry, and so I always, it drummed into me, so Kanatoa, right? Sine equals opposite divided by hypotenuse, cosine equals adjacent divided by hypotenuse, and TOA is tangent equals opposite divided by hypotenuse. So I use TOA, and I've got an example of it here. Now this is half of my blade, so my Scandi grind. So if I'm doing a 4mm grind, I only want to measure to the point, so that'll be approximately 2mm in. And if my grind is going up 8mm, then if I divide 2 divided by 8, it will give me the tangent of this angle. And then by getting my calculator and doing an inverse tangent, it gives me the actual angle then, and I can work out what that 8mm grind is on a 4mm thick blade, exactly using mathematics. Maths is a wonderful thing.
So basically Jacklore is like a mathematical piece of art then, isn't it, really?
Look
at that, you get more than you bargain for when you get a Jacklore.
Well, I've really looked into this bushcraft knife. I've studied the one knife. I haven't diversified a lot into other designs, primarily because it's the knife that I use and I like, and so I've concentrated on it really. And when you look at the knife so many times, you get to see how it should be, and I've sort of got to that sort of level of oneness with it now, should we say.
Excellent.
I'm just about to apply the primary sort of pre-heat treat bevel onto this knife. And so what I do, I call it inking up. I don't know what the name for it really is, but I call it inking up. So basically I just get an indelible marker and just ink up where the cutting edge is going to be. And then using a set of vernier gauges, set them to a certain measurement depending on the thickness, and basically just scribe a line down one side, turn it over.
So you're getting a centre point basically?
Yeah, so it gives me a centre line, but I left the centre line about 1 mil thick.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I won't actually go over that line. That gives me a bit of steel to take down after heat treat, because during the heat treat process you get this thing called decarburization. Now I do things in my kiln to minimise that, which you'll see later. Trade secret, trade secret.
I'll censor that out.
But obviously I don't want to remove too much carbon from the steel. Unfortunately you can't avoid it, because when you heat steel to this critical temperature, the atoms of carbon are very energetic and they're moving freely throughout the steel, and any that are in the surface of the steel, if a free oxygen atom comes wandering past, it will happily leave the steel and unite with the oxygen atom to form atmospheric carbon dioxide within the kiln. Hence decarburization occurs, and the only way you can minimise that is by reducing the level of oxygen in the kiln, and there are techniques that I apply which help that.
Okay.
Well, for consistency, I have learnt to grind freehand, but for consistency and speed I will use a jig, and basically this is just a piece of angle iron or angled aluminium, I think, and a couple of studs to rest the knife on at the correct angle, and I've used a G-cramp to keep it onto the jig. And it's just a matter now of I set the angle up on the platen. This is called the platen. This is a tool rest, so the angle there set up to what I want. It's just a matter now of just grinding that off down to those lines. The grind isn't going to go very high at this stage. We'll tailor that later on for when the knife's finished. It's just a matter of really knocking off those sharp edges now. But it's all got to be done evenly. And then I'll go over it with a 120 grit afterwards. I finish everything to 120 grit before heat treat.
And literally you will go to that middle line, wouldn't you? The middle.
Yeah, I'll go to the line. There's a
I've just left that middle bit of steel there, and then down to that, and not much over that, and then so it leaves a bit of steel for taking down to the final edge afterwards.
Okay, so there you go. So you've taken the
Yeah, I've taken the edge down. That's about 1.5 mil in thickness there. What happens during the heat treat process, we do lose a little bit of carbon from the steel, from the surface of the steel, and so this enables me then, after heat treat, to then grind down to the cutting edge, and I'll grind to where I get a good strong burr, and the cutting edge will be up here, about 1 mil up here, 1.5 mil higher than it is now, and that means that all the decarbed steel is eradicated, and we're into good clean steel then, which should be hardened and tempered at the correct Rockwell value. You see it's only taking up a little bit each time.
yeah. So at this stage now we're going to do the pièce de résistance, which is the Jacklore stamp. So I want to go quiet, I don't want to disturb Sandy doing this.
So I want to get it on with a scratch pad. If I do angle it, I'll angle it down slightly. I think I'm there. I'm not far out there. So it's a matter now, just very carefully. Now, I've got to now relocate in that. I've got to relocate in there and then bang it again. It needs 2 or 3 wallops to get the depth that I want. It takes a bit of a fiddle to get it in there, but I can. Yeah, I'm in there. It locks in. You can feel it lock. And each time it goes a bit deeper, you see. There we are.
So right now, Sandy, what do? You just degreasing and...
Yeah, I just degrease and take any grime and crud off. It saves it from being burnt on, because in the kiln this is going to reach sort of quite high temperatures, and just a good idea to have your knife as clean as you can get it before it goes in. Get any of the engineer's glue off, any bits of debris and grit. I haven't cleaned up this side yet, and the reason why I haven't done that is because when you stamp the logo sometimes you get a back mark as well. I can clean that up after heat treat. And those little marks, they'll come out when we grind up afterwards. So there we are. It's now ready for firing in the kiln. Right.
Okay, so now that we've stamped the logo,
Yeah.
that looks absolutely great.
We're now going to heat treat this knife, and for that I'm using 2 kilns. This is my hardening oven, and this is my tempering oven.
Okay, and the difference between the two?
Now this one will go to a very high temperature, to above the critical temperature, the low end of the critical temperature, and then I'll remove it, quench that, and whilst they're still hot, or too hot to hold really, they'll be going into the tempering oven, which will be preheated at a much lower temperature for tempering cycles. Okay, so in we go. Put them into that slot there. I've got bits of charcoal in there because that scavenges the oxygen from the inner chamber of the kiln, and produces that amount of oxygen there, so thus limiting decarburisation of the blade. So that's right. Now we've shut up. So now we run a heat treat cycle. The kiln goes through its various setup phases. And it's got to say idle, then I can go on. And we're on to idle now, so I just run the. It's all pre-programmed. I programmed it for program 1. It will ramp at full power to preheat the blades at 500, and it will hold at 500 for a period of time. Then it'll ramp on full power again to the final temperature, 810 centigrade, and then again I'll hold it at 810 for a period of time, and then we'll start. And the kiln now is going to run that cycle, and at the end of that cycle we'll withdraw the pieces and quench them in the vegetable oil. This temperature will start to climb in a minute. Yeah, we're up to 18, then it'll just go on and on. It takes about half hour to get to hardening temperature. And we're starting to climb again now.
Okay, so the time has come now to take this out.
Take Zed's knife out, which is the thinner one, so it doesn't need to soak for so long. Bring it out now, and we're going to quench it. You ready?
Indeed we are.
There we go. And keep the blade moving. If it's still smoking, a little bit of smoke.
So the oil, you've just got it a little bit tepid warm, haven't you?
Just tepid, yeah. No, that's still too hot to hold, but that will have hardened the blade. And that nice shiny blade is no longer shiny, but you see it's that nice sort of grey colour. Yeah.
Yep.
Now that goes there, and it gets wrapped up like a baby to keep it warm. Look at that for straightening, Zed. It's in tempering oven. That'll just stay nice at that temperature. I'll stop that alarm.
And you go. So is that going to stay in there now?
Yeah.
For how long, roughly?
About 90 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so you cut out the template now then?
Now I'm going to cut that out. Normally I'm dealing with quite a lot of leather, and I'm getting to the end of my hide now. I've got to order some more soon, but to make it more manageable, I tend to cut it out roughly first of all. It makes it more manageable. That's that one. It's a whole new craft and skill in its own right, isn't it, you know? Basically what I'm going to do now is going to run the V-groover up there like that. So what that allows,
That allows you to bend it basically.
it makes it easier for the lever to bend.
Oh, gotcha.
See that? See it's beginning to take shape.
Look at that.
Yeah.
See, these are stitching holes, yeah?
Yeah, this is marking where the stitching holes are going to be. Sorry, dude. I might get one more. That's that. I'm going to hit your camera, am I? You should all marry up quite nicely.
And this was where you're saying you don't use a Dremel basically, you just...
Yeah, I used to do this side of it, but I never used to go all the way through with the stitching irons like I do now. The problem is when I get to curves, I have the two pronger, which was good for going around the curves, but I've broken it and I'm seeking a replacement and I haven't been able to find one just yet. I have to import these from Japan. And that will go down there and just sit a bit better.
So right now you're cutting the welt, yeah?
Yeah. I just need to, that's all I need really. Put that back in there.
So you've cut the welt,
Yeah.
kind of space for the actual...
This is going to be for the fire steel loop. That's going to fit in there like that.
That's not me, by the way. That is the famous...
No, it's you.
That is
It's
me.
Elsa.
It's Elsa! Elsa!
She wants my tea. It seemed quite well made knife.
Yeah, so now we've got... I think we've got the best part of everything, haven't we, Sandy? Now
Yeah, we're going to stamp the logo onto the leather now.
Excellent stuff.
So we've got to go into the workshop to do that. This is my arbor press, half-ton arbor press,
Okay.
which I use for various different tasks. So I was going to place that on there, make sure I'm lined up with the stitching. Place it on there. give it a good wallop like that, force.
So I'm assuming obviously that gives it like an even pressure then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In there.
And voila.
Oh, check that out. It's a bit of a typo. J should be a Z. Is that Jacklore?
Jacklore. Charlore.
Charlotte. That's excellent.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so you're just burnishing the ends here, and
Yep.
so you use soap. Just put
Yeah.
soap on the end of
You
it.
can use a substance called gum tragacanth.
Can you say that again? That sounds great.
Gum tragacanth.
Tragacanth. Oh, look at that. So that's some get Star Trek.
Yeah. You see how it shines it up and that?
Yeah.
It makes it really nice.
So we've got a D-ring on, and what are you doing? Just applying the glue to both.
Yeah, it's a contact adhesive. I thinned the adhesive down just so that it penetrates the leather a little bit.
God, you can get quite high on that stuff, can't you?
You wouldn't want to be breathing it in for too long, I don't think. It doesn't affect me anymore.
Does it? No. You're permanently high.
So that's that. So just leave it just in the air just to evaporate a little bit. Minutes.
So even though it's contact, you still just clamp it down.
Yeah, because it won't gain full strength for half a day. You know, when it takes a while before it gets full strength.
So what is it we're doing now, Sandy?
I'm stitching the belt loop because if I were to glue the sheath together now, I couldn't stitch the belt loop. So I need to stitch that first
Right, gotcha.
before I do anything else. And for that, I use the stitching penny, which goes in there like that. I'll secure that in there. It can be a bit fiddly, especially in this light. I'm trying a bit more to zoom in. It always makes that noise at 6:15 or thereabouts. My clock does.
Every day.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that, it just does.
Okay. So what we do, we just light
Just,
stitching the...
Just singe and burn that off in there and poke it back down. And the same on the inside. There you go. That's all subsurface now. And the times when I was making the sheet start off with, I would forget to put the D-ring on. I'd stitch it. Oh, what a beautiful job! I stitched it. That's a super job. Oh, blast! I forgot to put the D-ring on. That's happened. So that's the first bit of the welt on. We've got that little gap at the top for our drain hole.
Okay.
That's a small gap. Let's go get the wire steel loop.
Okay, so it's been glued now, isn't it? So you've just applied the epoxy to both sides.
Now what I've got to do now is I've got to sand this side, this edge down now.
Right.
That's the next. That's the next stage. She's a good girl, really. That's what we say. Are you a cat person, Dad?
I am, yeah. I've got two boys. Quite young, they're just almost a year old now. So what you're going to do is you're going to just slide that in now.
Yeah. It don't fit.
Fantastic, look, that's already taking shape.
And that's it, that's your sheath. Just got to do the stitching. I'll stitch that up now.
You know, like the glass screen of a watch?
Yeah.
That is what part of a watch is called a bevel, isn't it?
Yeah, bezel.
Bezel. Or is it a bezel? Is it a B-E-Z-E now?
Not a bevel, bezel.
So you perforate the holes, and then what you're doing now, you're just sewing through then? So.
Yeah, sewing through now.
So we're putting this through the temper cycles, aren't we? Basically.
This is the final temper now.
It's final temper.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
So temper, just as a quick recap then, so you what was it doing again? It's cooling down and then it's heating back up again, is that correct?
We first of all we heated them to a very high temperature, 810 centigrade. Then we quenched them in oil, and then when they were all done, they were still hot if you remember, then we put them into the second oven for tempering. And then I tempered them at a specific temperature for a specified number of minutes or hours and minutes, and then let them come out again after that cycle was up, let them cool naturally. Then I repeated that, and then this is the third process, which is done at a slightly shorter time and a slightly lesser temperature.
And so once it comes out of here, that's it?
That's it. Then we're on to clean up, bevel grinding, finishing the knife off, attaching the scales, shaping the scales, job done.
Excellent. Hey guys, so that is it. That is a wrap for day one. Sandy, I want to thank you.
Cheers, Ed. It went well, didn't it? We managed to do quite a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, a hell of a lot. So just as a quick recap then, so starting off from the beginning, obviously with the steel.
Yeah, we cut the knife out from its steel. We've done all the profiling. We put the primary bevel on, but not to a cutting edge, just to knock the corners off really. We then tidied the flats up. We put the logo on. We've heat treated the knife. We've built the sheath, so that's now waiting for the knife to be finished tomorrow. We've glued the fibre liners on to the scales. So first thing tomorrow, Zed's going to get me up bright and early. I hope.
Cup of tea.
Cup of tea, yeah. And then we're going to finished the knife off. The metalwork of the knife needs to be cleaned up after heat treat because it's black now really. Then we've got to clean it up, and we've got to hand rub it. We've got to finish the bevels. We've got to roughen up the handle area and prep all that for the scales to go on. Then we've got to shape the scales and glue the scales on. So we've got a fair bit of work tomorrow to do. And then whilst the scales are gluing on, we'll be finishing the dangler, building the fire steel. And the glue's going to take the best part of 4 to 6 hours before we can start to work it. And then towards the afternoon we'll be shaping the scales and finishing the knife off. Hopefully this time tomorrow evening we'll be saying cheerio to Zed, and he'll be heading his way back to London.
That's it. Boot me off into the big urban jungle.
Yeah.
That's it. But the one thing I did want to say very quickly to wrap up day one, I know I'm going to be saying it on the next video as well, covering tomorrow, is I've really had an even deeper appreciation for the amount of work that goes into making knives, and especially the Jacklore knife. Like genuinely, I knew there was a lot of detail watching your videos, over the past year. But it's only when you're here, there's all these little subtleties and nuances of what you're doing. There's so many. There's major steps, there's medium steps, and there's all of these smaller steps that kind of add up.
Yeah, there are. I mean, it's something it's my own personal journey into knife making. It's the way that I do it. I don't bang knives out. I can't. It takes me a week to do 3, and each knife's a journey. I'm largely self-taught. I've been given a few hints and tips from friends and other people that are in the trade, and some of those things I've asked Ed not to show on the video because it wouldn't be fair. But apart from that, most of what you're seeing is really the accumulation of my own personal experiences, spending hours and hours in front of a grinder, hands-on, just grinding the knives out and building these knives, and acquiring an eye for them, and so it's been a 3-year process now, and I've been 2 years professionally now, so yeah, I'd like to think my work is becoming quite good now.
It's becoming more than good, exceptional, and I mean that seriously as well, impartially. I've been seeing your work that you've done for others, here that you got ready to go out, stunning work, absolutely amazing. So what we're doing,
always learning, Zed, even now. I'll never stand still. If I can figure out a way or see a way of doing something better, I'll change one process and adopt another. And if I can think of a way of improving my knives, I'll do it. You never stop learning.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. So I'm looking forward to day 2, and I hope you've enjoyed day 1. Obviously, there's a lot being covered, it's a given that I'm going to put a link to Sandy's YouTube website, etc. below the video. Please, if you haven't done so already, you have to check it out. Sandy has both a personal challenge, challenge.
Well,
You have a lot of challenges as well, right?
Challenges,
a lot of challenges, right? But he has a personal channel covering a general outdoor stuff, and obviously one that's specific to Jacklore knives. I'll put a link to both and the website. Please do check it out if you haven't done so already. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. Also, I'm taking a lot of images from this. I'll be posting them up to my fan page. The link for that down below as well. And also Instagram throughout the day. I've been taking little kind of snapshots,
good thing,
bit of a video diary. Really cool, everyone's on it. Sandy's on it, I'm on it, a lot of guys are on it. So once again, the links for that will be down below. So stay tuned for the second part of this video. If the second part of the video is already out when you're watching this video, I will have a link somewhere on this screen appearing about now. Please go ahead and check that out. We hope you enjoyed it. Sandy, thank you once again.
Cheers, Zed, no problem at all.
For day 1.
You've been a great spectator.
I have indeed, I have indeed. Front row seats, man. It's been fascinating. But no, it's been truly an honour and a privilege. I hope you guys have had the same kind of value for what I've experienced here. So stay tuned for part 2, and whatever you're doing, I hope you're having an awesome day, a blessed week ahead. So until the next time.
Also, they would have learned one thing. If they think they want to become a knife maker because they'll get rich quick from it, I'm afraid you're sadly disillusioned. Hopefully Zed's video will have put enough information across to make you see what a slog it can be sometimes.
A lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work, isn't it?
A lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It's not glamorous. It's just in there. Just kind of nitty gritty. No, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So, hope you guys have enjoyed it. Look forward to part 2. Until the next time, this is Ed from Zed Outdoors. Peace out.
Peace out.